Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO. Free, impartial advice on all your debt.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Joshua Pulev Fight Week. It's around 8 o'clock on Thursday night. By the time this goes out, it'll be Friday. I'm joined by one of the boxing cohort, Gareth A. Davies. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, thank you. No, it's great to be here, but I tell you what, it's hard to know what day it is sometimes. I'm glad you remind us it's Thursday, 8 o'clock. It's been exhausting in here, hasn't it? It's endless.
Absolutely. The whole bubble environment, unless you've experienced it, is a bit difficult to explain how it is here. But who's complaining, eh?
It's like prison with good food, isn't it?
That's a bit harsh, but we understand the way you're going. Gareth, why was Anthony Joshua so, I know the answer to this, but why was he so reluctant to engage in conversation about Tyson Fury today?
Well, he's fighting Pulev on Saturday night in a fight that is arguably worth £100 million to him. I mean, Eddie Hearn's revealed to me in the last couple of days that he thinks that if the fight goes to the Middle East, there's a $200 million purse potentially for these two fellas. And I think it's very difficult for someone like Joshua, who has got to prove himself every time, weirdly, that he steps into the ring. That he is the worthy holder of those three belts. I mean, you know, he's earned his place at the top of the division. Some people say he was shaky against Andy Ruiz in the second fight, but he's developing a style similar to Vladimir Klitschko, which is unnatural for him, I think, in lots of ways, because Anthony Joshua wants to be an enforcer when he's in the ring. He's a huge, muscular, powerful finisher. And he knows that Pulev is a man with a very reasoned jab, even though Pulev got knocked down 4 times by Vladimir Klitschko and stopped in the 5th round in Hamburg in 2014. He's got to win the battle of the jab early and then impose himself. I think he will. But he just there's so many questions about Tyson Fury all the time. And I think he did his little thing last week where he said, you know, Tyson Fury should come over and be managed by me and I can turn him into a superstar. And Tyson actually bit. And I spoke to Tyson this week and tried to get his preview on the Pulev, or the Joshua Pulev fight. And he said, Gareth, mate, pal, I won't be watching. I don't watch bum dossers. No interest. But you know he'll be watching. Because to be the undisputed champion, he's got to beat Anthony Joshua if he comes through this fight on Saturday night.
I think.
Do you agree or not?
Yes, absolutely. What I was going to make reference to there was, remember in the build-up to Ruiz 1, Anthony Joshua was just saying earlier on to me there that he went in to do an interview with ESPN and he had all these answers in his head about how to answer about Andy Ruiz, and he come out of it and they hadn't asked him one question about the opponent he was facing that week. Instead, every question was about Deontay Wilder. And I think he's kind of very mindful of the fact that he doesn't want to get distracted with this talk, because if he doesn't win this fight, that fight ain't happening, especially the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, the house of cards comes tumbling down. It's a huge risk, huge reward fight. I mean, it seems to be every time. And in many ways, Tyson Fury may not fight again. I mean, I almost hope he doesn't before fighting Anthony Joshua, because it puts the syncope of the situation out of rhythm. Because if Fury fights in February, they're not going to be ready for May, are they? May or June, and that looks like the way it's going. I don't think Tyson Fury needs to fight anyway. I mean, you know, he was going to fight, I've forgotten the name of who he's, Agit Kabayel, wasn't he?
Takam was mentioned.
And Takam was mentioned, Hunter, different guys. And in a way, Fury just needs to get into camp, get ready for a fight with Joshua. He's not going to be. He's stayed brilliantly in shape during lockdown. He hasn't lost his shape. We know what he's been doing, all the public workouts. He looks hungry, and I just really hope we get that fight in 2021 because it's a fight the world needs. It's a fight the boxing world needs, and it will go down as one of the great events that we will ever be at in our fight lives, if you like,
Last year, when just coming back to that Andy Ruiz situation, so the talk was all about Deontay Wilder. We saw, obviously, what happened in Madison Square Garden on that shockful night, really. This time around, do you think there's, considering what happened back then, that will play on Anthony Joshua's mind, that because he has been beaten in the manner he was beaten as well, that heavyweights coming in, especially someone as experienced and seasoned as Pulev, does that creep into your mind? If it's been done to you once already, that it can happen in any heavyweight fight?
I think it did when he was going into the second fight with Andy Ruiz. There had been a lot of nerves there. He had to hold his mettle and just box him, stay on the outside for 12 rounds, which he did. He did very convincing. I was sitting with Shannon Briggs and Frank Bruno during that fight, hosting an event for William Hill. And we were doing round by round, we were doing the fight live. And in the end, they were both out of their seats just saying, don't change anything, don't do anything different. Because he looked shaky when he went into the exchanges again, once or twice, maybe 3 times with Andy Ruiz. Because Ruiz has got fast hands. And he showed that if you exchange with Joshua and get into range, you're dangerous. I don't think Pulev has the same hand speed as Ruiz. I think Anthony Joshua, we will find, has faster hand speed. 39 is a fairly old heavyweight, but people say, well, what about Povetkin against Dillian Whyte then? Povetkin's a sneakier type of fighter, throws great hooks. Whereas, you look at Pulev's performances, he's a very schooled, kind of upright, orthodox boxer from Eastern Europe, long amateur pedigree, 300 fights. But he's not an aggressive attacking fighter. Split decision against Derek Chisora. I mean, we know what Derek is. And he's got the air of a very relaxed man here, Kubrat Pulev. But he hasn't tried to get under Anthony Joshua's skin. He didn't try to intimidate him today. At the press conference, he didn't do enough for me. Get stuck into him. Get under his skin, And I think my dealings with Anthony Joshua, I did an interview with him for DAZN for a program called Off the Cuff. It's worth a watch. DAZN's $1.99 a month for us over here, which is pretty good. It's a great start for us to watch all that content they're doing. But Joshua looks fresh, feels sharp, he's very on it, he's very lucid. The interviews he's given this week have been tremendous. And I've been around him for a couple of weeks now because of the DAZN stuff. And I just think he's learnt from that loss. An L is not a loss, it's a learn. And I think he really has learnt. He knows he can implement another style, but he can't get into a fencing match for too long with Pulev. He's got to try and establish his jab, and it's a big ring, isn't it? His footwork's going to be really important in this fight. I think he'll get a stoppage inside 6 or 7 rounds. Don't really want a 12-round decision, but Rob McCracken, you speak to him, his coach, his head trainer, says he doesn't mind, just wants his hand raised. Anthony Joshua has been a work in progress in front of us for many years, and everyone around him, Fraser Clark I spoke to, Fraser Clark obviously sparred with him. He's the leading super heavyweight, sparred with Joshua in training camp in Sheffield. He's the leading super heavyweight in the country as an amateur. Probably will go to Tokyo as long as he qualifies. Has a very good chance of winning a medal in Tokyo at the Games. Says that he's never sparred a better Joshua. That speaks volumes. And Joshua today, is talking about he's had an amazing training camp with sparring partners. I mean, he's been sparring every night here. Not hard sparring, but the head guard comes off. Rob McCracken's probably having kittens, But Joshua's on it. Have you not noticed that yourself? He's very
Absolutely.
sharp. Yeah, very, very sharp. Very sharp.
So,
you run out of questions.
No, I never run out of questions for you. So, I think the second Ruiz fight was about, like you said, getting the job done. Yeah. Just get the win done. Regardless, get his belts back. But
let's be honest. He got schooled for 4 rounds and embarrassed in front of the world. He He thought he'd finished the guy in the third round. The guy gets up and knocks him down. He doesn't know where he is for 4 rounds. And what I will say this about Joshua, and you can say whatever you like on the comments here, and you do, is that he was still fucking fighting back. He was in a whole world of pain. Mike Tyson put it best. You've seen that documentary on Sky with Tyson saying your head and your body's disconnected and you don't know where you're going, you're confused, you don't know why your legs won't move here and there's a terrible Mike Tyson impersonation. But he's so spot on. And they cut back to the fight for those 4 rounds. And Ruiz is patient, ready to attack and ready to exchange when Joshua throws. He must have been so nervous going into that rematch, but he showed he could do it. And I think it was a massive learning fight for him, even though Andy Ruiz came in 20 stone plus, you know?
No, I'm not even going to attempt to do Mike Tyson. But yeah, Joshua, get the job done, and then, listen, we'll be just waiting. We know talks are ongoing at the moment between all the relevant parties that represent Joshua and Fury. So Joshua comes through Saturday. We can imagine Sunday morning or as late as Saturday night, the ball really does start to get rolling.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be amazing if Tyson Fury crashed the party, you know?
No chance.
No, there isn't.
Well, never say never with Tyson, but I very much doubt
Can
it.
you imagine him turning up in the crowd of 1,000? No one would be able to stop him coming in. He jumps over the boards after Joshua has knocked out Pulev in the 7th or 8th round, which is what I'm going for. And he's leapt over and he's into the ring and he's nose to nose with him. It would just go around the world. And remember when Deontay Wilder missed the opportunity to come here when Joshua fought, would it have been Povetkin or Parker?
Yes.
It was Parker, wasn't it? And he could, or one of those two, anyway, I can't remember right now.
He was meant to come and didn't, is that right?
Well, the talk is that Joshua didn't want Deontay Wilder to steal his thunder on the night, so he didn't come in the end. But
I'll tell you what it was. It's because Deontay Wilder said he wanted to get into the ring, and they couldn't. Eddie Hearn and Joshua said that if it happens, it happens. But they said that they're not going to say he can definitely get in the ring, and that's what it was. Remember,
that's called egos, isn't it? You know, but it always makes the fight. Kell Brook and Terence Crawford meeting at the weigh-in for Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury 2 in February made that fight. Joe Calzaghe in the same MGM Grand. Joe Calzaghe and Bernard Hopkins in the media room. Bernard Hopkins famously saying, "I'll never lose to a white boy," made the fight. It was made because we're all around it and it just ignites it. There's nothing like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao finally meeting at an LA Lakers basketball game and then having a chat in one of the suites upstairs afterwards. It's like the fights get made. You know, because they're human. They're wired for connectedness with their rival. So, I mean, I do hope Tyson turns up. Because if Tyson turns up, that fight is on. It should be on anyway. But I think there's Ramadan in the way a little bit in the Middle East, which I think is in May. But so what if it's announced in June? But I just hope that these guys don't play around with each other in timings and stuff, because it's enormous. And the logic tells you that if they can earn an enormous amount more each, say 30 million more each, going to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East first, that's what they'll do rather than come to Wembley Stadium, when there's no guarantee of getting 100,000 people in there in May anyway, given the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic.
We shall wait and see. Well, Gareth.
Campbell Hatton?
Talk about Campbell Hatton.
Is that all right, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, I thought it was great to see Campbell Hatton here today, you know, with his dad, Ricky Hatton, granddad Ricky Hatton, because Campbell had a child at 17, didn't he? He's 19. He's a spit of the old man. He's a big body puncher. Superb kid. Ricky was never super featherweight, and he's starting at super featherweight. And it was funny today, and he's got a real comedic air about him as well, just like his dad. He's a real charmer. Because we said today, you know, we were sitting down with both of them after it was announced that he signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. And I said to him, "You must be very proud. You know, your dad fought the best pound for pound in the world." And he said, "Nah," he said, "I'm not, you know, he's a pain in the ass," he said to my dad. But he was only joking. He loves his dad. He knows he's one of the most popular fighters of all time. We'll have a lot of fun with Campbell Hatton. He's a real character. But isn't it amazing? Campbell Hatton, Conor Benn and Harley Benn Chris Eubank Jr., Nazim Hamed's son's, I think, about to turn pro, or it's just turned pro. Isn't it amazing, the genetics of fighters, that their sons so often want to box? It's extraordinary.
Steve Collins as well.
Steve Collins, yeah, and his son. It's incredible.
Steve Robinson. Yeah.
Steve Robinson, yeah, it just goes on and on, doesn't it? It's unbelievable, but particularly to have these big names. I mean, Joe Calzaghe's sons I saw recently, and they're not boxing, but they're specimens as well. I met up with them after not having seen them for years, but even Lennox Lewis's son is kind of having a little pop at it all. So it's fascinating.
Okay.
You're cutting me off already.
No, I'm not cutting you off. I've just got an interview with Kes Ashfaq.
Oh, God, nice.
Coming in the next 5 minutes. That's all.
Coming back from a loss, he's a great boxer. Actually, he's very talented. I think Commonwealth Games is when Glasgow Commonwealth Games he did very well, didn't he? Terrific guy, and a young fighter who needs to get back into winning ways on Saturday night. Yeah.
Takes on Ashley Lane, former Commonwealth champion. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
We'll probably talk after the fight on Saturday night, but I did catch up for about an hour with Callum Smith a couple of days ago. Obviously, he'll be heading to Texas to fight Saul Canelo Alvarez. I've never seen him looking so vibrant and happy. It's a very, very tough fight for him. But of all the 6 Brits that Canelo's fought so far, this is the guy with the best opportunity. And I'm really quite excited about that fight next weekend. I'm going to be sitting with Joe Calzaghe watching it for DAZN and doing a bit of commentary on it between rounds. And I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, Canelo is a special force, but honestly, there was something radiant about Callum Smith. He looks fantastic. He looks like a musketeer ready to go and, thrust his sword in the face of the Mexican star. Yeah, what a great end to the year. Amazing, amazing.
And you can watch that fight for $1.99. These videos are being sponsored by DAZN, if you didn't already know, Gareth. Yes, they are. Okay. Gareth, thank you very much for 18 minutes of your time.
Always a pleasure. It's been 10 years and still going strong. That's IFL TV, of course. What's the thing about sleeping well at night? What's that?
We're also sponsored by... we're just also sponsored by a company called Debt KO, who specialise in debt management. And the advert is your debt causing you sleepless nights, which is what Joshua was referring to. It's my voiceover on the video. You can't have watched an IFL video for quite some time, Gareth, if you haven't heard this jingle. Oh, you have heard it?
I've heard it, and I always giggle every time I hear you.
You know it's my voice? Of course right. I was just checking. You should do one of these voiceovers for us. You'd probably be too expensive, to be honest.
It's always funny anyway, and I love the flack you get from your millions, or is it 600,000, isn't it now? 600,000 subscribers.
640,000.
Yeah, well, what did you gain? 140 in lockdown, wasn't it?
No, we didn't. Slowed right down, actually.
Going strong. 10 years. KUGAN CASSIUS. King of the vid.
Gareth A. Davies, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. We'll definitely catch up with you on Sunday morning.
It'll be a pleasure. Cheers, mate.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.